This worksheet is about articulation. Articulation is a slight interruption of the air with the tongue. When you play a wind instrument, one way to make the different notes sound defined is to articulate them. Okay, so there are two different basic ways to articulate. So tonguing is all notes are tongued unless they are marked with a slur. So that means when you start a note, you're going to start it with your tongue, and that's going to give you some articulation or some clarity to the beginning of each note. It's kind of like when we talk and we use the sound T or D, or we use different sounds, and those sounds help make our words sound clear. Okay, that's called articulating or articulation. So in music, we're doing the same thing but with our notes. So tonguing is when you do start a note with your tongue. Slur or slurring, a slur, is a curved line connecting two or more different pitches, and it tells you not to tongue the notes. So this is what a slur looks like. So normally when you see two notes, they would just look like this, right? Just two different notes. You would tongue the two notes. You would just start them with your tongue. But when there's this curved line connecting two notes that are different pitches, it means you're not going to tongue. It's going to connect those notes and you will not tongue them. So when we're talking about articulation, the options are tonguing and slurring. Now later, you'll learn more about different types of tonguing, different types of style, different types of articulation. But for today, we're just talking about, do you tongue or not? Do you slur? Do you tongue? Okay, so if you see a slur marking, then that tells you that you're going to slur that note. If you don't see a slur marking, then you're going to tongue the note. So let's read this. In the example below, the T designates that you tongue the note. When notes are connected by a slur, you do not tongue the notes that are under the slur. You tongue the first note. You do tongue the first note of a group, and you slur or do not tongue the remaining notes. All right, so looking at this line, let's go one note at a time here. So looking at just the first note, you'll see that there's no slur, so you're going to tongue that note. There's a T for tongue because you're going to automatically tongue. The next note is the same way. You're going to tongue the next note. Now, the third note, you'll see that you're starting to have a slur, but this note itself, you're still going to tongue because you're going to tongue the fourth note here. The slur means you're going to tongue this note. It's connecting this note. There's no tongue between these two notes. But between these two notes, you're still going to tongue. There's no slur between these two. So you're still going to tongue that third note. Now right here, there is a slur that connects these two notes. So this note right here, you're going to slur. And we're not going to mark anything for slur. Just because we're not going to tongue, we're not going to do anything, so we're not going to mark anything right there. Okay, we're just going to leave it. All right, here, this next note, you're going to tongue. The second note, you're going to tongue. Okay, now, after the second note, you're going to start a slur. Notice that the definition of a slur is a curved line connecting two or more different pitches. So sometimes under a slur you might have 3 or 5 or 20 notes. It just depends on the music. So you're still going to tongue this first note because remember, it's kind of like that slur hasn't really happened yet. You're still tonguing the beginning of this note, but then between these two notes, that's slurred and this is slurred. Everything underneath that slur. So you do not tongue this note and you do not tongue this note. So there's no T. Okay, looking at the last one, you're going to tongue the first note here. You're going to slur to this note. Okay, you're going to tongue this note and you're going to slur to this note. Okay, so this is kind of your example line to make sure you understand how it works. Now, let's look at line number 1. You're going to mark a T for notes that should be tongued. If notes should not be tongued, meaning they should be slurred, do not mark anything. So if it should be tongued, you put a T. If it should not be tongued, you don't put a T. Okay? So starting right here, you're going to put a T. I'm going to do the first measure with you. Here you'll put a T. You're still going to tongue this note. There is no slur between these two notes right there. There's no slur. So you're still going to tongue that one. However, this one, there is a slur, and this one, there is a slur. So you're not going to mark anything there. So it's tongue, 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 slur, slur. Okay? All right, go ahead and pause the video and finish that out on your own. All right, so let's check what you did. So right here you should have tongue, 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 slur, so no tongue, tongue, tongue. You're still going to tongue right here to start it, but all of these notes under here are slurred, so nothing here, but then the final note is tongued. Okay? All right, why don't you try this line? Put a T everywhere you should tongue. If it is under a slur and you should not tongue, don't put anything. Okay, let's check what you did. So tongue at the beginning, slur, slur, so no tongue, tongue here. And if you wrote it down here, that's fine. Okay, tongue, 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 slur, slur, tongue, tongue, slur, tongue, slur, tongue, tongue. Okay, now in this next part we talk about ties versus slurs. So a while back we talked about a tie is a curved line connecting two or more notes of the same pitch, and a slur connects two or more notes of different pitches. Okay, so the actual symbol itself is identical. But if it's the same note, then you're tying those two notes together, and it's gonna, if you don't tongue those two notes, it's gonna sound like one long note. With the slur, because you're changing your note, you're still gonna hear the note change, but because you're not tonguing, it's gonna have a smoother sound, a slurred sound. So it's important to understand that this same symbol is used for two different things, and what you have to check is if it's the same note or different notes, okay? So here it asks you, I'm gonna leave these up here for reference, okay? It asks you to circle the ties. So when you see a tie, you're gonna circle the tie. Don't do it yet, we'll do it together. Put an X on the slurs, so the slurs are gonna get an X. Remember, a tie is a curved line connecting two notes of the same pitch. A slur is a curved line connecting two or more notes of different pitches, okay? So you don't have to mark the T's. This is a different exercise. What you're looking for are ties and slurs. So let's just look for ties first of all, okay? So a tie, you need to see if the notes are the same. So you have the symbol here, but those notes are not the same. So that's not gonna be a tie. This one here though, the notes are the same. So it's gonna be a tie. So you're gonna circle that one. Can you look and see what other ties you can find and circle those? So the two ties, additional ties, are right here and right here at the end, okay? All right, now you're gonna look for slurs. Now, yes, all the others are slurs, but I want you to double check that you understand why. So here you see the notes change, so there's slurs, so you're gonna put an X, meaning don't tongue, and it's just a different way to mark it. There's no official way for marking these, okay? So it just gives you the directions to do that. Here for a slur, these are different notes. You're going to put an X, not because you're not going to slur, but just meaning don't tongue. Here is a slur, you're not going to tongue, and here is a slur, you're not going to tongue. Now, technically, you don't tongue on a tie either, right? Okay, but these are just two different ways to show the difference. So we could have said put a star, we could have said put a square, whatever. Okay, all right, so ties and slurs are the same symbol, but what makes them different is tie is connecting the same notes and slur is connecting two different pitches. The link to the next lesson in this video series can be found in the description below.